Where are we? Whoop. There we go. There's the right one. So, I forgot to close the door. Alright, so I'm Adam from the Press Continue podcast. And today, moving the camera. Hey. Today we are going to do we're going to talk about some Magic cards. I know I'm a few days late than usual, but life has been kind of crazy the last few days, so I had to shuffle some things around, and we're doing it Thursday today. So, I did the pre-release for Guilds of Ravnica, Ravnica, I can never say that right, Ravnica, and I picked a Golgari deck, so we got the whole pre-release box there, which I thought was kind of interesting that at the pre-release you picked a guild and you got 5 packs of random and then 1 pack that was dedicated to your guild. So I thought that was an interesting way to do things. If you think about it though, is because one of the packs you got your promo card. You actually were cut out by 1 rare, because usually you'd get 6 packs and then you would get your rare promo card. So doing it that way, they kind of cut us out of getting an extra rare, but it was a neat, different way to do things. So I think they should have gave us 2 rares in that pack, but they didn't. So what are you going to do about it? Except play the game. So today I'm going to talk about what I thought of the pre-release, as I already started doing. We're also going to show off all the cards that I got, and then I'm going to show off the deck that I made, and we're going to play test that deck a little bit so you can see kind of how it ran. And then I'm going to talk about, at the very, very end, a new idea that I have for a commander deck, as long as there's time, and see what you guys think. Again, I always like to have feedback from you guys, so let's make sure the chat lines are working. I always like to check that. There it is. So, if you're watching live, please chat with me live. If you're not watching it live, then you're not following me on Twitch, so follow me on Twitch, Press Continue Podcast. Or if you're watching on like YouTube or something, put in the comments what you think about things. I like to have feedback from all kinds of different ways, and we'll talk. So, depending on what guild you got, depending on what kind of dice you got, so Golgari, you get the black with the green numbers. I dig it. I think this is actually, oh, I didn't even notice it had the little Golgari symbol on there. How about that? So that's cool. Yeah, I think this is like the coolest color combination of the dice. So I was pretty happy to get that too. But let's get the box out of the way. So I'm going to go through the random cards, the other cards that I did not use first. So let's make sure everything is the way it's supposed to be. Yes, okay. So, let's get to it. We got Dazzling Lights. We're going to go through blue first. Dazzling Lights. Let me cut some of this. I got too many cards in my hand at one time. Let's talk about Dazzling Lights for the 3rd time. So, target creature gets -3, -0 until end of turn, and then Surveil 2. So, Surveil, of course, is the new mechanic that lets you look at the top 2 cards, or however many Surveil says. This one, Surveil 2, look at the top 2 cards of your library, then put any number of them into your graveyard and the rest on top of your library in any order. So you can say, well, I don't want to put any in the graveyard, and basically put them back in any order. I see it as kind of like a graveyarding scry mechanic, which, I mean, everybody knows how much I love scry. So Surveil, I'm already finding ways to abuse Surveil in many different decks that I already have. So I'm into Surveil. I like Surveil, and I used it in my pre-release deck quite a bit, and it worked well. Maximize altitude. Target creature gets +1/+1 and gains flying until end of turn. Jumpstart. This is another new mechanic. So Jumpstart, you may cast this card from your graveyard by discarding a card in addition to paying its other costs. Then exile the card. So if this was in my graveyard, I would discard a card, usually like a land or some other crap that I don't need, and I'd pay the 1 mana and be able to play this again. So Jumpstart, again, another cool mechanic, especially with Surveil. So I wouldn't be surprised if we start seeing Surveil Jumpstart decks. Spoiler alert, that's kind of what I'm doing in the new Commander deck that I was talking about. So stay tuned at the end for that. So I got a couple of those. Selective Snare is a blue and X. Return X target creatures of the creature type of your choice to their owner's hand. This card is terrible. Unless you're playing against like a theme deck or, you know, like Edgar Markov bullcrap and you say vampires and return a bunch of vampires. There's so many other cards that are better than this where they don't have such a weird restriction to them. So I was not a fan of Selective Snare. Radical Idea, I do like this. For 2 mana, draw a card, and then Jumpstart. So again, discard, pay 2 mana, draw another card. Discard garbage to try to draw something else. That's going to be a card that I'm going to use in a few decks. I need to get more of those. Enhanced Surveillance. It's an enchantment. You may look at an additional 2 cards each time you surveil. Exile Enhanced Surveillance. Shuffle your graveyard into your library. Not sure how I feel about that, because I guess if you surveilled 2, you'd actually surveil 4. I didn't use it, obviously, but I'm not sure if this is a good card or a bad card. I guess if you use a ton of surveil, that could be cool to fill the graveyard even faster, but I don't know. Disdainful Stroke. Counter target spell with converted mana cost 4 or greater. I hate these weird counter spells that have these goofy restrictions to them. What happened to just straight up counter spell? Can we just keep straight up counter spell and that's it? These stupid, I mean, stupid. These kind of counter spells annoy me. Really just annoy me. Unexplained Disappearance. Return target creature to its owner's hand and surveil 1. Decent. Again, with the surveil mechanic, I can see that being used. Guild Summit. When enchantment, when Guild Summit enters the battlefield, you may tap any number of untapped gates you control. Draw a card for each gate tapped this way. Whenever a gate enters the battlefield under your control, draw a card. So with a gate-heavy deck, which would be slow as hell because they all come into play tapped, I can see you drawing cards. Basically, this says when it comes into play, for every mana you spend, that's a gate. You get to draw a card. So, could be good. Don't really know how I feel about it. Devious Cover-Up. Counter target spell. If that spell is countered this way, exile it instead of putting it in its owner's graveyard. You may shuffle up to 4 target cards from your graveyard into your library. This is a good card. This is a counter spell that I like because it counters anything and it does extra stuff for 4. I mean, this is a worthy card for a counter spell deck. So good job on that one. Now we get into the blue creatures. We got Dimir Informant. When Dimir Informant enters the battlefield, surveil 2. I noticed something about the Dimir creatures is that, especially the blue ones, they had low attack, good toughness. So the one deck that I did play against, they were hard to get past because all their stuff had the high toughness, and they were sitting there surveilling all day, and it was good. That was good. Leapfrog has flying as long as you've cast an instant or sorcery spell this turn. I mean, I like the idea, the whole Leapfrog name with I mean, it goes with the theme of the card. Would I ever play it? No. Muse Drake. Flying. When Muse Drake enters the battlefield, draw a card. They have so many cards that do this exact same thing. They just keep changing the name. It's fine. It's not bad. I was really psyched to get this guy. Omnispell Adept. Pay 2 and a blue. Tap them. You may cast an instant or sorcery card from your hand without paying its mana cost. It's a 3/4. So also, if I am reading this correctly, now I can cast sorceries as instants as well. I've not looked up the ruling on that, but from the way the card is written, you can do this at any time. So it doesn't say you have to legally be able to cast that spell. So let's look it up real quick. Oracle Omnispell Adept. Because if that is the case, this card is stupid broken. You may cast an instant or sorcery card from your hand without paying its mana cost. You may cast a sorcery this way even if it's not your turn. So yes, dude, you can cast sorceries as instants. So that's great. I mean, of course, everybody's freaking out to cast this with Apex of Power, which of course is 10 mana. And if you cast it from your hand, you get 10 mana of any color, and you exile 7 cards from your hand, and then you can play those cards till end of turn. So, I mean, that's a great combination already. This guy, I think, is going to, over time, go up in value. That is my prediction. That's whatever, man. All right, so now we're talking white. So let's move that over. Take Heart. Target creature gets +2/+2 until end of turn. You gain 1 life for each attacking creature you control. So I don't know. The green-white deck was about making a bunch of tokens, running really wide. So this was, I can see that being a good card in the format right now. Gird for battle. Put a +1/+1 counter on each of up to 2 target creatures. Yeah, whatever. Sworn Companions. Create 2/1/1 soldier creature tokens with lifelink. That's another thing. There was a lot of lifelink. The one deck that I played against, I kept beating him down, and he kept getting it all right back. All the lifelinkers. Collar the Culprit. Destroy target creature with toughness 4 or greater. So, in the pre-releases, I can see this being a great card. Any other format, not really a fan of it. Then I had a few white creatures. Whenever how do they come up with these names? Hazda? Marshall? Hazda? I don't know. Either way, when he and at least 2 other creatures attack, create a 1/1 white soldier creature with lifelink. So white weenie decks might be back. I got a couple of those. Hunted Witness. When Hunted Witness dies, create a 1/1 white soldier creature token with lifelink. All this lifelink stuff. Stop it. Got a couple of those. 10th District Guard. When 10th District Guard enters the battlefield, target creature gets +0/+1 until end of turn. That's pretty lame. Got a couple of those. Blade Instructor. Mentor. Okay, so here we go with Mentor. You ready? Mentor says, whenever this creature attacks, put a +1/+1 counter on target attacking creature with lesser power. So this is how I feel about Mentor. Is eventually it's going to cap itself out. So, because you're going to take that 1/1, then the next turn it's going to be a 2/2, then the next turn it's going to be a 3/3, and then it's done. If it survives that many attacks. Again, this has got a 1 toughness. So yeah, it's an attack trigger, but you can't put it on itself. So, now if you're attacking with multiple things that have Mentor, well, they can't even put it on each other because it has to be lesser power. So Mentor, I'm not a big fan of it because I see it being just a big blah. You might as well bring back banding at this point. Inspiring Unicorn. Here we go with more unicorns. Whenever Inspiring Unicorn attacks, creatures you control get +1/+1 until end of turn. So when he attacks, he's a 3/3. Whatever. I don't know. Not a big fan of the white, but the white deck that I did go up against had a bunch of creature removal stuff, bunch of weird direct damage type stuff, things that were very surprising to see in white for me. Needless to say, I lost that match badly, and I thought my deck was going to be terrible garbage, but you'll see. You'll see. Maniacal Rage. Enchanted creature gets +2/+2 and can't block. So I can see that, again, in the pre-release, putting it on other people's creatures to get through for that final kill. Or, of course, putting it on yours to get the plus. I got a couple of Maniacal Rages. I got a Sure Strike. Target creature gets +3/+0 and gains first strike until end of turn. All this till end of turn stuff does not excite me. Torch Courier. Haste. Sacrifice Torch Courier. Another target creature gains haste until end of turn. Got 3 of these guys. And I'm not excited about any of the 3 of them. Because the last set had that goblin where you tap to give a creature haste. And I was more excited about those for sure. It's like a worse version of it. Ornery Goblin. When Ornery Goblin blocks or becomes blocked by a creature, Ornery Goblin deals 1 damage to that creature. Well, whoop-de-frickin-do. This, though, I mean, if you gave it Death Touch, sure, that's pretty cool. Otherwise, Electrostatic Field. There was a guy that was already building a deck around these guys. 0/4 Defender. When you cast an instant or sorcery spell, Electrostatic Field deals 1 damage to each opponent. So that each opponent thing makes me think Commander and ways that I can figure out how to use this. But I usually don't do very instant and sorcery heavy decks. So not sure how I feel. Wojcik Bodyguard. Here's another Mentor card. But he cannot attack or block alone. But he's a 3/3 for 3 mana that pumps other dudes. Not excited about a lot of this stuff. Fearless Halberdier. It's a 3/2 vanilla creature. Just throw that in the garbage. Get it out of here. Rubble Belt Boar. When Rubble Belt Boar enters the battlefield, target creature gets +2/+0 until end of turn. Whatever. That, again, not... okay. So I guess with that kind of stuff and Mentor, it might make sense, but it's so much work. So much work to get that to happen. Here's a 4/2 haste with Mentor. Yep, there it is, and there it goes. And here's a Book Devourer. Okay, 4/5 Trample. Whenever Book Devourer deals combat damage to a player, you may discard all the cards in your hand. If you do, draw that many cards. This, I can see me using for something. So, that is a card I will definitely hold on to and probably do something with. I don't know what yet, but I will do something with it. Let's move some stuff over, because we're going to get into... Yeah, we'll save the gold cards. We'll save the gold cards. There's a lot of those. Here's all the artifacts I got. All 2 of them. We got a Wand of Vertebrate. Tap it, put the top card of your library in your graveyard. Pay 2, tap it, exile Wand of Vertebrate, shuffle up to 5 target cards from your graveyard into your library. Okay, and then Golgari Locket. Of course, the lockets came in every color. You got, this is the black-green, and for 4 of either of those colors, tap it, sack it, draw 2 cards. Obviously, It's in my sideboard. I did not play with the locket. I was not a fan of the locket. It just made my deck fat, and there was no point to it. So put that to the side and get rid of it. Make sure everything is well on the internet sides. Let me look. Whatever. Okay. So then we got some lands. Okay, so this is one of my rares. Temple Garden. I'm not a fan of these stupid things either. Green-white. As Temple Garden enters the battlefield, you may pay 2 life. If you don't, it enters the battlefield tapped. So the big thing I can see with this one, you know, all that stuff that lets you search for a forest, a basic forest, blah, 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 blah. So you got that because it's a forest and a plains. So it's the closest thing to the original dual lands that you can get at this point. But this whole coming into play tapped unless you pay 2 life, whatever, man. I was ready to instantly trade that away to somebody, but whatever. I got this one and Underground. I don't know, the black-green one I got in a long time ago in a pack. So those are the only 2 of these I have, but whatever. Gateway Plaza. Gateway Plaza enters the battlefield tapped. When Gateway Plaza enters the battlefield, sacrifice it unless you pay 1. Add 1 mana of any color when you tap it. This is basically a different name of another card that is just like it. So a lot of this stuff where it's just been around forever. Here's a bunch of guild gates. We all know what those are. They give you 2 color land. They come into play tapped. And they're gates. So, hooray for gates. Oh, by the way, the cards I'm showing right now too are the cards that include my prize packs too. So, because of course I won some matches. So, got some prize packs in there too. So not all this was the sideboard, but a majority of it is. Dead Weight. Enchanted creature gets -2/-2. I got a couple of these, and well, no, this was one. This was one that I got from my prize pack. The other one that I had, I got in the regular packs and is in the actual deck that I ran. Very good removal there. Barrier of Bones. This was in my prize pack, my foil one. Defender 0/3. When Barrier of Bones enters the battlefield, surveil 1. Hired Poisoner. A 1/1 Death Touch. Death Touch I used a lot in my pre-release deck. Burglar Rat. Totally using this in my my discard commander deck. When Burglar Rat enters the battlefield, each opponent discards a card. Plague Crafter. This is going in there too. When Plague Crafter enters the battlefield, each player sacrifices a creature or planeswalker. Each player who can't discards a card. Undercity Necrolisk. Pay 1, sack another creature. Put a +1/+1 counter on Undercity Necrolisk. It gains menace until end of turn. Activate this ability only anytime you could cast a sorcery. This card was so good until that last sentence, where you can only use it as a sorcery. I had it in the original build of my pre-release deck and took it out because that whole sorcery garbage made this card suck. Bartizan Bats, a 3/1 flyer. Again, flying was a good thing to have in the pre-release, so all the flyers I could think of that I had went in there. Here's a Dowser of Lights. It's a 4/5 vanilla creature with a big-ass story on it. Who the hell cares? Get that out of here. Okay, green. Welcome to green, folks. Prey Upon. I had these in the first build of my deck because I had a bunch of Death Touch creatures, but the combination never happened. I had 2 Prey Upon, so target creature you control fights target creature you don't control. Had 2 of those. Took them out. Urban Utopia. What a piece of crap. Enchant land. When Urban Utopia enters the battlefield, draw a card. Enchanted land has tapped, add 1 mana of any color. Woo! If you can't get your mana base right, where you need weird stuff like this, don't even play more than 1 color. Pack's Favor. Convoke. So Convoke is back, which says you can tap your creatures in order to pay 1 colorless mana towards that spell. So target creature gets +3/+3 until end of turn. So you can either pay 3 mana for a giant growth, or you can pay 1 green, like we've been used to for giant growth for I don't know how many years, and tap 2 creatures. It's terrible giant growth. Sprouting Renewal. Another Convoke. Choose 1, create a 2/2 green and white elf knight creature token with vigilance, or destroy target artifact or enchantment. I did not have that in the pre-release, otherwise I would have ran it because of the enchantment destruction. Vivid Revival. This is one I fought with putting in the deck so many times. Return up to 3 target multicolored cards from your graveyard to your hand, then exile Vivid Revival. Really good, but 5 mana cost makes it not so good. Because I'm going to end up using all my mana to cast this thing, and then I won't be able to play my multicolored spells unless it's like way late game. So I did not run it, even though I really wanted to. Portcullis Vine, Defender, 0/3. Pay 2, tap it, sack a creature with Defender, draw a card. So pretty much you're going to block with this. You're going to pay the 2, tap it, and sack itself to draw a card. Devkarin Dissident. It's a 2/2 for 5 mana. You can give it +2/+2 until end of turn. So many garbage cards in this set. Why? Hitchclaw Recluse. A 1/4 reach. Alright then. This is one I was putting it... I wanted to put it in the deck so bad, but I never did because it was only a 1/2 creature for 3 mana. But when it enters the battlefield, you draw a card. I saw it as like the only card draw that I really had, but 3 mana for a 1/2 really wouldn't get me anywhere, so I did not run it. Apparently I got another one later out of a prize pack. Wild Ceratok. I almost ran this vanilla creature, this 4/3, just to have a fatty, and then I said throw it away. Golgari Raiders. Okay, so I got, what, 2 of these? 3 of these. Three of these suckers. 2 in the pre-release, 1 afterwards. So they're a 0/0 haste, but Undergrowth. We're finally talking about Undergrowth. You ready? So Undergrowth says, Golgari Raiders enters the battlefield with a +1/+1 counter on it for each creature card in your graveyard. So Undergrowth counts how many creatures are in your graveyard and gives that card bonuses for that. So haste, 4 mana for what potentially could be really deadly, but I felt like I was going to do 4 mana to get 2/2 hastes, so, or 3/3 hastes, unless it was really, really late game. Then maybe getting a 4/4 haste for 4 mana. Figured it was not worth it, so they sideboarded. Here's a Siege Worm. Convoke for a trample 5/5. I would have played it if I would have had it in the actual pre-release packs, but this was one of my prize packs. So there's that. And then we get into gold cards, which I do have a Boros Challenger. This is one of the promo cards that you got from Open House. So I did teach somebody how to play Magic that day, and Boros Challenger is a shit card. He's a mentor. Again, you already know I don't really care about mentor that much. And for 2 colorless, a red and a white, Boros Challenger gets +1/+1 until end of turn. So 4 mana to give this thing +1/+1. I mean, it's decent for 2 mana to get a 2/3 with mentor, but 4 mana to get a +1/+1? This thing is garbage. Why don't they give like real card? I mean, it looks cool in the promo. I like the art and everything, but the card is just garbage. Why can't they give us good promo cards? All right, here we go. Beacon Bolt. Here's the gold cards. Beacon Bolt deals damage to target creature equal to the total number of instants and sorcery cards you own in exile and in your graveyard, and it's got Jumpstart. So a good creature removal in this format, but would I ever play it? Probably not. Sonic Assault. Tap target creature. Sonic Assault deals 2 damage to that creature's controller. And Jumpstart. So it locks down a creature basically for 2 turns and does 4 damage because of Jumpstart. Decent, especially in the pre-release, but outside of that, again, I'm looking at everything from a commander standpoint. No. So these cards, okay. Every time, okay, look at me in the little window here. Every time somebody has one of these in their hand, they always end up, you know that they have a split card because they always end up going like this. So many times I'm like, oh, you drew a split card, didn't you? And they're like, yeah, I might as well just hold it like this so I know what I'm looking at. So, yeah, these split cards, every time somebody pulls one, and what's funny is I pulled one and I turned it the wrong direction and I put my head the other way and they caught me doing it and started cracking up. So I had a lot of fun playing with Tiffany in the pre-release. We just got stupid, which I thought that she was going to be super competitive because she plays so much, but no, we just got silly. So it was fun. So anyway, this is Integrity Intervention. Integrity says target creature gets +2/+2 until end of turn. Intervention says it deals 3 damage to any target and you gain 3 life. The intervention side, not bad. Integrity side, I guess, is the B side. I like these split cards. I always have. I thought they were kind of cool, having the options. I just wish they would give better options. And what they did with these split cards this time is they had ones where you can fuse them, where you can play both sides at the same time, but these do not have fuse, so you have to pick one or the other. Expansion and Explosion. This is a rare. So expansion says copy target instant or sorcery spell with converted mana cost 4 or less. You may choose new targets for the copy. I hate the stupid 3 or less, 5 or more. I hate when they put those weird restrictions on stuff. Just let me fork something. And Explosion is 2 red, 2 blue, and X. So that's 5 mana at least. Explosion deals X damage to any target. Target player draws X cards. So you can have 2 separate targets for that. Damage to that player, I draw that many cards. But it's 5 mana to do 1 point of damage and draw 1 card. Now if this had fuse, that wouldn't work either, because that would also be dumb. I don't think it's worth that being a rare, but that's what I got. Hypothesizzle, yo. Snoop Dogg in the house, making cards now. You got draw 2 cards, then you may discard a non-land card. When you do, Hypothesizzle deals 4 damage to target creature. Draw 2 cards, and you may discard a non-land card. So you have to discard to do the 4 damage. 5 mana to draw 2 cards and possibly do 4 damage to a creature. Could be good. I don't know. I just like it because of the Snoop Dogg reference. So I'm going to definitely alter that and put a Snoop Dogg picture on there. Join Shields. Untap all creatures you control. They gain hexproof and indestructible until end of turn. It's an instant. So I think this will see play just because it'll give everything indestructible. Okay. Vernati Shieldmate. These are those dual color. I like the dual color cards because of the way that they fade between colors. I always like the looks of those. But it's a 2/2 vigilance for 2 mana. I think is actually pretty decent. Especially, again, in those colors. So, got 2 of those. Fresh Face Recruit. As long as it's your turn, Fresh Face Recruit has first strike. Not bad, I guess. House Guildmate. So, one in a blue. Target creature doesn't untap during controller's next untap step. Okay. 2 in a black. Surveil 2. At least it's got options. Don't know if I'd actually play with it, but it does give you options. World Soul Colossus. It's a 0/0 with Convoke. World Soul Colossus enters the battlefield with X +1/+1 counters on it. So, the guy I was playing with ended up playing this thing as like a 7/7 because he convoked it so much. And threw a bunch of mana into it, and then cast a bunch of extra cards, and yeah, this guy can get pretty big, especially again in those colors, since you're doing a bunch of weenie creatures for cheap. Knight of Autumn. When Knight of Autumn enters the battlefield, choose 1. Put 2 +1/+1 counters on Knight of Autumn, destroy target artifact or enchantment, or you gain 4 life. I like cards that give you all these crazy options. So I have a feeling if I ever make this color combination, I would run it. Centaur Peacemaker. When Centaur Peacemaker enters the battlefield, each player gains 4 life. Group Hug. Commander Group Hug deck. There you go. Put that in there. Instantly. Oh, I got a couple of those. Sky Knight Legionnaire. Flying Haste 2/2 for 3 mana. I got a couple of those. Darkblade Agent. This card I always have to read like 15 times. As long as you've surveilled this turn, Darkblade Agent has Death Touch, and whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, you draw a card. So you have to surveil first, otherwise this card is just a 2/3 creature, which sucks. But I guess if you're doing a surveil deck, it doesn't matter. I like the art on it. I think it's a cool looking card. I got a couple of those. Whisper Agent. Shh, whisper. 3/2 Flash. Now we're talking. When Whisper Agent enters the battlefield, surveil 1. That's all good stuff. You know what? That's going right into the deck that I'm building. So that's going off to the side right away. Let's put that right there, because that is going into the deck I'm making. Which I will talk to you guys about at the end. If there's time, there should be time, because what else do I have to do tonight? Nothing. So here's a Hammer Dropper with a Mentor 5/2. Shut up, Mentor. Garrison Sergeant. Garrison Sergeant has double strike as long as you control a gate. So that's not bad. A 3/3 double strike for 5 mana, I think is pretty darn good. I got a couple of those. How about that? Here's a legendary. Other creatures you control get +1/+1. When Trosteni Discordant enters the battlefield, create 2/1/1 white soldier creature tokens with lifelink. There's more lifelink. And at the beginning of your end step, each player gains control of all creatures they own. Such a stupid third ability. I guess that's good under control decks, but otherwise kind of dumb. So what, if you use a switcheroo, then you get it right back? If you do all this weird exchange stuff, then you get it back, but that's all in blue. So I don't know why that's relevant yet, but it's a mythic. So whatever, dude. There's another Hammer Dropper and a Swath Cutter Giant. Vigilance 5/5. When Swath Cutter Giant attacks, it deals 1 damage to each creature defending player controls. Instantly I thought, again, give this thing Death Touch. You will wipe someone's board. And it's an attack trigger. So you can attack with everything, and all their creatures die, and all your stuff gets through. This is good with Death Touch. I want to do that. I want to have fun with that. That would be great. So, alright. So that is all the cards I did not use and that I have so far from the set. So we will put those away. Again, keeping that over there because I really like that card. Again, Whisper Agent. Whisper Agent is going to be good. So, where are we now? We're on the deck. Time for the deck. Who's ready to see what I played? I had a very good deck, I think. The only problem is I could not get my mana curve right. And so many times playing this deck, I would have 6 land and 1 card in my hand, or I would have to mulligan because I would have no land hands. So I think if I would have got the mana base correct, the number of land was the problem. I would have gone 4-0. Instead I went 2.5 because we ended up splitting a pack. 2.5 and 1 loss. So here's what we got going on. Of course, again, I do the thing where, whatever I do, there's the tie. Whenever I play, I have everybody, I put my record on the card, I date it, and I have whoever I played against sign the card. So it's kind of my own little tradition that I do. So there's that. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 swamps and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 forests and a couple of Golgari guild gates, again, that come into play tapped. We already talked about guild gates, so there we go. So that was the mana base. Might as well do a quick shuffle since we're going to run the deck after you see what's in it. I know the suspense is terrible, isn't it? Somebody in the comments. Okay, suspense is terrible. What movie is that from? What movie is that from? Get that movie quote. All right, so Pact Favor. We talked about this. It gives Convoke. Target creature gets +3/+3 until end of turn. Where are we? There we go. Okay. We going through the non-creature spells first. All creatures get -1/-1 until end of turn. Surveil 2. I dealt with those weenie decks, all those tokens, all those little guys. Dead Weight. Enchanted creature gets -2/-2. That was always removal. Prey upon. Target creature you control fights target creature you don't control. Removal. Crushing Canopy. Choose one. Destroy target creature with flying or destroy target enchantment. Removal. Status Statue. Status. Target creature gets +1/+1 and gains Death Touch until end of turn. Or destroy target artifact, creature, or enchantment. Removal. Destroy target creature. Surveil 2. Deadly Visit. Removal. Alright, so out of all that, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 6 removal in the deck. Out of a 43 card deck I think I ran. And 1 power up, which basically would work as a blocking removal. So stuff did not stay on the board against me, right? Then we got Death Touch. Hired Poisoner. Got a 1/1 Death Touch. There's a couple of those. We got a Barrier of Bones, which in thinking back about it, I should have taken this out, but I had it in there for the Surveil. When Barrier of Bones enters the battlefield, Surveil 1, 0/3 wall. So, yeah, I should have took that out to get it back to get it down to 40 cards. Child of Night, a 2/1 lifelink. Veiled Shade, 2/2, but you spend 2 mana and gets +1/+1 until end of turn. got real big towards the end of the end of games. Blood Operative, lifelink 3/1. When Blood Operative enters the battlefield, you may exile target card from a graveyard. When you surveil, if Blood Operative is in your graveyard, you may pay 3 life. If you do, return Blood Operative to your hand. I actually did that in a game because I was like, I surveilled, this was in there, I paid 3 life, brought it back, it's got lifelink, I'm going to get that life right back because he's a 3/1. So it didn't matter at that point, and this card is way better than I thought it was. So I'm happy with that. Lifelink. Spinal Centipede. When Spinal Centipede dies, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. Okay. Again, alright, so I didn't say my strategy for this deck. It was a lot of removal. It was a lot of block, throw my stuff in the graveyard, because my stuff is going to come out bigger than yours because I have more creatures in the graveyard. Because of, well, we're getting to it. We haven't gotten there yet, but we're getting to it and you'll see. And this is basically how I think Golgari plays. Fill your graveyard with a bunch of shit and then play your stuff, which uses Undergrowth to wreck their day, while keeping their board empty. Here's another assassin. I'm really liking assassins and like rogues and all that kind of crazy stuff. Death Touch 1/1, but all creatures able to block this guy have to. So if you attack with this, everything has to block it, and then it all dies. Board wipe. And that's what happened every time you hit the board, is I would wipe someone's board. I wish it had haste. That's the only thing it's missing. Erstwhile Trooper. Discard a creature card. Erstwhile Trooper gets +2/+2 and gains trample until end of turn. Activate this ability only once each turn. I should have not had this in the deck. So that is a card I should have taken out, which would have gotten me down to 40 cards in the deck. It would have made it work that much better. Bartizan Bats, 3/1 flying. Here come the flyers. Moodmark Painter. Undergrowth. When Moodmark Painter enters the battlefield, target creature gains Menace and gets +X/+0 until end of turn, where X is the number of creature cards in your graveyard. So Menace, of course, has to be blocked by 2 or more creatures. You notice, like, Death Touch, you don't want to block it. This Assassin with Death Touch, again, don't want to block it, but you have to. Lifelinkers. You don't want to block them, but you kind of want to get rid of them. Menace. So all these evasion things that I had in here. And here we go. Rhizome Lurcher. Undergrowth. When it enters the battlefield, put that number of +1/+1 counters on it, equal to the number of creatures in your graveyard. These usually came out as 4/4s, 5/5s when I did play them, and I had 3 of them in the deck. So how awesome is that? To get 3 of these in the pre-release in a Golgari deck that's surveilling, throwing everything in the graveyard. Awesome. Here's another flyer. 4/1 flyer. Crawl Swarm. Pay 3, discard a creature card, return Crawl Swarm from your graveyard to your hand. Never used that ability for any reason, but it was there if I needed to bring a flyer back. Had 2 of those. They're 4/1s. They did damage. Look at this. That's my promo card. Underrealm Lich. If you would draw a card, instead look at the top 3 cards of your library, then put 1 into your hand and the rest into your graveyard. Pay 4 life. Underrealm Lich gains indestructible until end of turn, and then you tap it. It's a 4/3. So it's basically like a surveilling. Oh jeez, you know, I said the name of this card 15,000 times. The green enchantment that does the same thing but doesn't throw it in the graveyard. What is it? If you remember the name of that card, please tell me, because my brain is tired and I can't remember. But this thing, I was worried about it. I was really worried about playing this because I was afraid I was going to end up decking myself. But you know what? It threw a bunch of crap in the graveyard. I would draw 3 cards every turn, basically. It was awesome. I got past so much garbage in the deck. So many times, you know that 6 land hand that I was talking about? I'd have 6 land and this guy. And with a 6 land hand, I knew that I should just run it either way because I knew that I had really good chances of drawing cards that I wanted to play. And I would have the land to play whatever I wanted to play. So Underrealm Lich did work. This is also going into the next deck that I'm talking about, so we'll put that to the side. And Kraul Foragers. Undergrowth. When it enters the battlefield, I gain 1 life for each creature card in my graveyard. It's a 4/4. So it's a 4/4 for 5 mana that gains me life. It was good. It was so good. Put that over there. Put this over there. These are all... I can't because I need to show you guys how this deck works. So let me do a little shuffling, and we're gonna run the deck a couple times so you can see exactly how it ran and get a feel for it. And again, stay tuned for what my new commander deck idea is going to be. Why am I talking like this? I do not know anymore. Shuffle, shuffle, shuffle. Okay, who's gonna get mad at me? Ready? Who's gonna get mad? Because I got no deck protectors on this, and we'll ripple shuffle it too. Ooh, why you do this? Okay, so again, I think I ran 43 cards, which I normally do anyway, because I'll put 3 extra land in there. But like I said, my land base was a disaster the first couple of rounds. So we'll get a good shuffle going, and let's play it here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So look at that. 4 land in opening hand, right? A Entwined Trooper, Pact Favor, and a Moodmark Painter. So this is decent. So turn 1. Turn 2, I got protection with Death Touch. Oh, let me focus in a little better for you guys. A little better? Worse? Trying to get the focus in for you guys so you can see the cards a little better, so you can read things. I guess this camera is not that great. One of these days, you know, you can donate on Patreon and I can get a better camera. Alright, so that's a little bit easier to read, I guess. So we got 1/1 Death Touch on turn 2. Turn 3. Turn 3, I'd play another one. And, of course, attack. Turn 4, got the lands, that's for sure. Turn 4, Erstwhile Trooper. This is playing out kind of vanilla right now. Nothing. Oh, there we go. There we go. See? 4, 5, Underrealm Lich. Now it gets really interesting, right? So here we go. Turn 6. Draw 3. Put 1 in my hand. I'm going to take... Kroll Foragers. And I'm gonna play 4 for a Moon Painter's Servant and give Underrealm Lich +1 and Menace. So I'm going to attack for 5, and then I'm going to 1, 2, 3, make it 8. And I've already done some damage already. And I did that with a pack favor, gave it +3/+3. And I still got 2 blockers. And then, oh, look at that. Okay. This is awesome. So, we put a Child of Night out there. Lifelink. Oh, wait. I forgot to do the thing. 2, 3. We'll definitely put the land in the graveyard. And I will take the Child of Night. Play a Child of Night. Attack with a bunch of stuff again. Next turn, draw 3. Get rid of the lands. And get Rhythm Lurchers. And yeah, I got big baddies now that are wrecking your day. And that's kind of how it played out. Actually, I usually had more in the graveyard by then. But you see how I had like a bunch of removal. The only thing that I had trouble with was flyers. Flyers and people going wide. If they had a lot of tokens, I couldn't deal with a lot of tokens. So there's a blue guy. He's a 1/5, and every time you cast a instant or sorcery spell, it makes a 1/1 illusionary bird. That guy messed me up. And then there was a white enchantment that every time you gained life, I think it was every time you gained life, you could pay 2 and draw a card, but you also made tokens off of it for 4 mana that made a 1/1 lifelinker. And that ended up messing up my day too, because he was drawing so many cards and lifelinking and drawing cards, and it just got out of hand. So really wide decks I couldn't deal with, but yeah, see, this is not good. This is not a good hand, but I'm gonna run it anyway. So play a forest, draw. Oh, there we go. Play a swamp, and with 2 mana, I can get Hired Poisoners, Death Touch, Guild Gate, which always slows you down and screws you over. There's Underrealm Lich again. 3 mana. I'll put a Veiled Shade out. Put out that Assassin. Alright. Now we're talking. Well, it buys me time with all that Death Touch. So attack with that. Wipe their board. Okay, they've gotten me a few hits already, but that's okay. And I will throw out Bartizan Bats. Get the flyers out there, right? In fact, this is probably dead too by now. And flying. Play the Rhizome Lurcher. It's a 4/4 because I have 2 creatures in graveyard. So now I'm getting the big baddies. Here's Statue. Remove something. Get through. 5 mana. 5 mana. We'll put the Underrealm Lich out there again. And next turn, draw 3. I would get a... Well, what's in my hand? I don't have any Surveil stuff, so I'd probably get the Blood Operative. And play that out there. 1, 2, 3 to have lifelink. And then I would Convoke to give my flyer +3/+3. And what the heck is that doing in there? 1, 2, 3. See, every time I do this draw 3 thing, I'm getting rid of stupid lands. So that's good. So there we go. Hired Poisoner. And 1, 2, 3. The Trooper. 1, 2, 3. 2 lands. So I'll take the Mood Mark Painter. 1, 2, 3, 4. Play that. Give something. Let's see what's in my graveyard. Oh, I'd probably discard this to get 1, 2, 4, 4, or +4, +0, and Menace. So right there is 8, 12, 15, 18, 22. And then I still got blockers left over. I mean, the deck worked. It worked so well. And I was very happy with it. Golgari was my first choice because I feel like it has all the best cards in the set. And it worked really well. So I was good with that. I was happy with that. So again, give me your comments at the bottom of what you think of what's going on here. What you thought of your pre-release, how well you did. Talk to me about stuff. I want to hear it. But all right. So I said I would talk about the idea that I had for a new deck, right? So what I am doing is I am doing a what is that stupid creature's name? Who is the commander? No, who's on first? Okay, so the commander is going to be Muldrotha Gravetide. I hope that comes through. Muldrotha says he's a 6/6, 3 mana, black, green, blue. During each of your turns, you may play up to 1 permanent card of each permanent type from your graveyard. If the card has multiple permanent types, choose one and play it. So, permanents only, right? But and most people make that deck with all permanents. Well, what I'm doing is I'm putting all kinds of weird draw spells, which will let you draw, but then you have to discard. So I'm filling up the graveyard, kind of that whole Golgari idea. I hope I'm saying it right this whole time, Golgari. Anyway, so filling up the graveyard with a bunch of stuff, milling cards, surveil, but then I'm also going to throw in jumpstart, so that even if these instants and sorceries go to my graveyard, I can jumpstart them and still play them from the graveyard. With jumpstart, I'm going to put madness. So I'm discarding to jumpstart, but then madness kicks in, and now I can play that card that I just discarded for cheap. I'm going to do things like land that you sacrifice to do things. So I can use the land, sacrifice the land, like for example strip mine. Use a strip mine, destroy a land, then my land for turn is playing a land from the graveyard, play strip mine again. I want to try to figure out things that will let me play multiple lands per turn, so I can do that more than once in a turn. From blue, I gotta find the card that gives all my cards flash. I know it's out there, or all my creatures flash, whatever, because flashing creatures from the graveyard, I think it didn't say during each of you. Oh, I can only play it on my turn, so flash doesn't do anything. That sucks. That would have been really cool. So I have to figure out something to do with that. I'm also using... Oh god, what is the other term? There's another term that lets you play an instant or sorcery from your graveyard for a cost. And then after it's cast, it gets exiled. I can't remember the name of the mechanic now, but I'm using all that kind of crazy stuff. But the big thing is I gotta fill that graveyard as fast as I can. So there's a lot of milling cards. I'm gonna use things like grindstone and millstone. Going back to some classic stuff like that. So no, that's not gonna work. Aftermath. I'm gonna use Aftermath in there so that no matter where a card is, I can play it. And then, you know, you got to protect your own graveyard from being exiled. So I'm going to have things in there that shuffle my graveyard back into my deck. There's a few artifacts that do that. So I'll be pulling those out of the old books and having a good time with that. So that's the idea behind it, using a lot of weird mechanics. I hope it works. I really hope it works, but we'll see what it do. I'll grab some of the cards that I had put to the side already. So we'll see how many make it into the final build. But like Worm Harvest, create a 1/1 black and green worm creature token for each land in your graveyard with Retrace. You can cast this card from your graveyard by discarding a land card in addition to paying its other costs. So, wow, I didn't even realize Retrace. That's another mechanic I gotta look up. Okay, well that's definitely going in there. Bunch of stuff like mill yourself, like Pilfered Plans is really good. Target player puts the top 2 cards from his or her library into their graveyard, and then I draw 2 cards. So, of course, I target myself with that. I really like this card with the foil and the colors that it uses. Draw 3 cards. You can play an additional land. So that was that extra land plays. What's going on? So we got some Aftermath stuff. Again, this is in a really raw version of this deck right now. So this stuff like Scrivenger comes into play. You return a target instant or interrupt card from your graveyard to your hand. Archomancer does the same thing. So I got a lot of interesting stuff that I'm going to do with that. I'm going to bring in some shadow creatures. So just some dumb stuff. I just hope it all works in the end. But anyway, that's my review of Guild of Ravnica. I appreciate you guys watching, especially if you made it to the end. But tune in next time where the gaming never ends, as long as you press continue. Thanks for watching. Go check out the podcast. We'll talk to you again soon. All right.